How's everybody doing? Well, we are now going to move in to how to understand a Sagittarian man, the Don Juan of the zodiac. he This is mutable fire. Mutable fire is a lot more manageable than fixed fire, which is hard to put out. Think of a forest fire. It's going to take a lot more fire trucks to put off a forest fire. You need to throw the water from the air, from a chopper, in order to squelch the fire. And in a forest fire, like in California, when you have those dry bush fires that can be burning for days, and no amount of water that you can throw overhead to the helicopters or on land that can quench that type of destructive fire. It's fixed fire. It takes days. Actually, the fire has to run its course. You can't put it out. It's too strong. It's too, it's a fairy globe. That little it's trinkets of water compared to, you just can't do it. You can't go to a volcano and throw water in it. The water will evaporate before it reaches 3 feet. Before it even reaches 3 feet on the surface, it'll turn into vapor. So you can't. That's Aries, right? The actual furnace of the earth. So then the gods, thankfully, has awarded us with a manageable fire. Mutable fire that we can make ourselves, or fires that we can manipulate. We can use fire to wage swords. We can use fire to cook food in the stove. We can use fire to make us physically skinnier, like in a steam room or a steam bath, and put the fire so we can sweat. And when it changes our morphology, our bodies, we lose weight. It's manageable fire. It's mutable fire. But fire is still fire. Fire is still fire. But this is fire that, although it's still dangerous, because if you light a match and you put your finger in there, it's gonna burn in seconds and you're gonna be screaming like a little bitch. Ain't no different than being scorched by the sun through sunburn, through fixed fire, or God forbid you should be thrown in some volcano somewhere, or just explode up in space where there's the cardinal fire, the fire of space. All them lights are just burning stars. So I understand the magnitude of fire, cardinal fire, fixed fire, and the mutable fire. Now, how do we apply mutable fire? Because I explained it physically. But how do you explain it psychologically in the personality and ego of the Sagittarian? That's what you should be thinking. Where your line of thought should be going. Where is Fernando going with this? Because everything has a physical and a psychological and emotional counterpart. So when I make analogies like that about the physical, understand that I also have to apply it to the emotional and behavioral body of man, because that is the way that we can then control or alter the behavior of another person. You have to understand psychologically what's going on that's making the person act and think and do the way they do. And that is the fire of knowledge, the fire of Sagittarius. Yeah, I'm not doing White Russian now. I went for a little something, a little stronger. Too much milk in the day with booze kills you. Okay, he's distracted. That's before I even go there, like I have one word for Mr. Leo and for Mr. Aries. What do you think this one word will be for Mr. Sagittarius? Well, I used to say in the other two videos of Aries and Leo that Sagittarius is the Don Juan of the zodiac. So, what does that mean? First of all, he has a very prideful nature. He does. But it's not egocentric or narcissistic like it is with Leo. This one is one of joviality. This man is jovial. Remember, he's ruled by Jupiter, the king of the gods. Leo by Apollo, the sun. And Aries by the god of war, Mars. So the better one besides the sun, because even Jupiter cannot exist without that sun. So Jupiter will have to come last, but like Leo, he comes with many, many gifts. See, when you're ruled by Jupiter, the lawgiver, the king of the gods, Zeus, you can lead a charmed life. A charmed life. Well, it's almost like you are Perseus, or Hercules, the favorite among the gods, the favorite among humans. So I understand that Sagittarius is the baby, like Aries, and to a certain degree Leo, but it is the soul, the youthful, innocent soul, devoid of ego and personality, like Aries and Leo. This is the pure soul. When they say that someone is an old soul, oh wow, you're young, but you're like an old soul. And you know that what we mean to say is that this person has lived many, many incarnations. And therefore he appears more knowledgeable and seems to have more wisdom than his age dictates. That's what that means. Well, the same thing can be said of the Sagittarian man in the opposite gradient. He's a new soul. His spirit represents the new soul. He's here in material matter, and he's here to experience life on this planet, on this solar system, on this fold for the first time. Like Mr. Pisces, he can be one or the other, an old soul or a new soul, which we call a virgin spirit in occult philosophy. So the Sagittarian man, all Sagittarian men have in them that virgin spirit of the soul as created by God, without personality and ego, which are vehicles added later to the developing man which he is today. But before spirit entered into matter, it was innocent and pure, what we call a virgin spirit. And that is the call of the Sagittarian. He has a virgin spirit. He's more of a child than Aries or Leo. He is pure God unconscious, which is why it's very difficult for Sagittarians to lie. Of course, you have lower types and lower natures, but for the most part, these people are quite innocent and noble and loyal, and it's almost like it goes against their own being to be deceptive, to be wicked, or to be falsifying. That usually falls, for Leo and Aries, if necessary. Not even Aries will be that dishonest. Well, neither would the Sagittarian. He's ruled by a nobility and a cosmic purpose, like Mr. Aquarius. But with Mr. Aquarius, he's seeking knowledge that was self-made, whereas the Sagittarian is looking to merge back to the source, like Mr. Pisces, go back to the creator. And he wants to discover things by himself and make sense of it on his own, but have input from other people's mentalities and experiences. Because to him, the mind of God is not secular. To him, in order to find God, we must find God first in each other. And that connects the puzzle, which is why Sagittarius is the sign of the traveler. Sagittarius, once he figures something out in his own environment, he's not going to be satisfied that that's the end of it. He needs to go towards the other horizon, where he's sure to find the missing link to the answer that he's seeking and looking for. He doesn't even have to be aware psychologically that he's seeking, because it's something that transcends ego and personality. Remember, this is pure soul, pure spirit. So he may be driven by forces that he may not even understand or even acknowledge within himself. But he knows that it's a calling. It's a calling that goes deep into his gut and pulls his soul. It's not just the ego and the personality, but his soul. And whatever he does, he cannot go against that calling. That calling that has no definition, no concrete reference point in which to gauge it from, no compass either. You just look towards the horizon, and you know that what you're looking for is there. You don't know why you know, but you know that you gotta get on that plane and go after it and look for it and find it. And that can take a lifetime. Or it can take an hour or a day or 5 minutes. Because just like he can travel physically, he does that also mentally. Oh, this man romanticizes travel, romanticizes ideas, romanticizes God. He's on his way towards becoming a god. It begins in Sagittarius. And it culminates in Pisces, where you throw yourself into the abyss and merge back to God. So understand that this man is being driven by internal forces that were at the very fabric of creation itself, and which he doesn't understand. And it can disrupt his life, his internal life, cause him to be a nervous wreck, or his external life, because he'll be pulled by forces that he won't know how to control. It's like being on a stallion. You gotta break in a stallion, and it can take you weeks to break in a stallion. That movie, The Black Stallion by Walt Disney, was a perfect example of breaking that stallion in. And the stallion can kill you if you're not careful, if you don't know. And that represents the level of resistance from the Sagittarian in wanting to be pulled and led into areas few angels fear to tread. Life is an adventure for him. It's there to conquer. And the bare fact that he has acquired the knowledge through the acts of experience and experiencing cultures in different places, whether physically, literally, or in his mind, makes him feel like he's above you and everybody else. But not in an arrogant way, like Leo or Aries, but in a more compassionate way, in a sense that he understands the ways of the world, understand its pain, understand its need for that pain in order to evolve. It has, or he feels that he has, the answer as to why life is the way it is. He's not going to know that right away growing up as an adolescent. It's in his adolescence where the impulse begins for that kind of quest. It culminates way into his 50s because, conquering different tasks and objectives, philosophically or literally, is only to put another piece into the grand puzzle. He's building a puzzle in his mind, in his head. And he hopes that he completes that puzzle and he gets the truth of the answer that he's seeking. But sometimes he doesn't even realize that he's seeking. And this is why he has that restless energy. His mind is never at rest. It's always thinking, it's always curious, and it's always deciphering and decoding. Remember, the opposite sign of Sagittarius is Gemini. And Gemini is the sign of the twins. So if the Sagittarian appears to you like he's a bundle of contradictions, or he engages in paradoxical behavior, where he says one thing and does another, understand that he's pulling from Gemini. Heckle and Jekyll, Lord and Hardy, Frick and Frat, the angel and the trickster, the boxer. So you have to be careful, because he himself may not know and is still trying to figure it out just like everybody else. But he puts up a good game, a good front. Because the knowledge that he embarks on you is not the knowledge that he thought of and generated for himself. It's knowledge that he has assimilated from others and from the experiences of others, in which then he creates a synthesis and arrives at a philosophy based on all of these other knowledges that he got from all these other types of experiences. And now he creates a synthesis in which now it becomes the basis of his philosophy based on experience and learning. Not just one or the other, both. This is the true essence of Sagittarius. So, if you want to get a Sagittarian man, like Leo, you also cannot rely on your looks and on what you do in the bedroom as a woman. With a Sagittarian man, you're going to have to be almost like a dude and be his friend. Act like his friend. And in fact, you are going to have to kind of like not pay too much attention to your looks. With a man like that, you are going to have to pay attention to your mind. The way to stimulate this man is sexually. Is by stimulating his mind. Gemini is the opposite. So you have to be able to keep him guessing or keep it on his toes. If you don't want to be bothered to do that, because that's work. Remember, these are fire signs. So if you're going to be with a Sag, you have to keep it nice, sweet, juicy, and guessing. Or he's going to get bored with you, like Mr. Aries, and walk away. And not let you know either that he's gotten tired of you and he's going to walk away. It's a characteristic of all the fire signs. He'll become very cold and indifferent. His warmth and cheerful disposition, like Mr. Leo is more conservative and more reserved. Mr. Sag will be more exuberant. Remember, he's Jupiter, so he's going to be more out there, even flamboyant. And still very sexy, very hot. Sagman can be very hot, very sexy. And they know it, and they flaunt it, and they flaunt it well. But understand that this is, like Mr. Leo, they believe that you're the lucky bitch that's with this man. Because not only does he know how to lay it, he knows how to get it, he knows how to be fun, he knows, he got the money, he's generous, and he's hot, and he knows he's hot. Every side knows that they're hot. And deep down, they won't tell you, but they're going to know that you're the bitch that's lucky to be with him. This is a characteristic of all the fire signs. They really think very highly of themselves. But then again, if they weren't so damn sexy, they wouldn't be right. But they are because, fire and electricity attracts. It's electric. It's magnetic. You can never be bored with this man. You should never be bored with him because there's nothing there for you to be bored. Okay? But with all that kind of youthful energy, that pure energy of the soul, which knows no experience and is pulled by higher forces, how does he become a workable, functional human being that a woman can love and fall in love with and try to grab? He's not affectionate. And it's not that he don't mean to be. It's just that he's so busy in his head and with other people that he don't have time to be sentimental, to grab your hand and walk down the street like a couple. It's not something that he does. He also doesn't want to feel that he has to do you a favor by holding your hand. If you don't want to hold your hand and give that aura of being together, he's not going to do it. He's going to begin to feel trapped. He's going to begin to feel possessed. Remember, he always is going to have an outlet, a door to escape. But he doesn't always have to do that every time he's with a girl. But he will if the woman insists on certain behaviors that will indicate to the outside observer that he's committed to that woman. Understand what I just said. Let that sink in. Because if he begins to suspect that you want to make claims to him for all to see in the community, in the environment. Remember, the opposite of Sag is Gemini, and Gemini rules the community, the neighborhoods, the neighbors, what people say, and this man is very, very concerned with what people say about him, because just like he wants to be free physically, he also wants to be free from people's minds of what they think of him. He wants to control what you think of him. So therefore, he's going to be quite cautious with those around him. He may give the illusion of being expository, but sometimes it's an act. Remember, Gemini, the opposite, Jekyll and Hyde. He could do a bait and switch on you, and he would do it lovely while you're in the throes of orgasm. When he does the bait and switch, and you're so out of it that you wouldn't even realize what just happened. And then he detaches, which becomes a little rough. A little rough. So then you have to ask yourself, what kind What are you willing to put up with to go with a man that is just as unattainable as he is absolutely adorable? And a man who loves your mind but could care less how you look like, but still adore you just the same. And we're done. We've reached 25 minutes.